It only takes a car accident to realize what a privilege employment is as a way of life. For too many injured or sick people, this goal is out of reach, and unfortunately, a lot of folks still pay taxes out of a budget far less than Warren Buffett's secretary. How unpleasant and painful this must be. Most Americans today would feel privileged to make enough money for their daily living expenses, unexpected family challenges, community support, and taxes. Unfortunately, since many work for minimum wage or less, or for those living on fixed income, such as Social Security income, which is SSI, Social Security disability income, which is SSDI, or state assistance, currently this is only a dream. In fact, some are required to pay taxes out of the little they do make. Individuals involved in a car collision are more than likely to be one of these last three groups, especially if injured for an extended period of time. Let's talk about you and taxes after a car collision today. Welcome and thank you for joining this April 6, 2013. This is your car accident talk show, sharing information and concerns that help you. Hi, I'm ESTRA, your host. We are coming to you from Seattle. On this program, your challenges in dealing with insurance companies, self-insured employers, and coping with everyday situations from being involved in a car accident are up for discussion. And now for my commentary on you and taxes. On April 15th, every year seems to come faster and faster. The deadline for taxes being completed rarely changes, and there are many options in getting them done. One would be to pay a professional tax person, do them yourself, or get help by community organizations offering free services most times. Seems like there's a lot of time, right? And how long does it take to get into this routine? What if you've been in a car accident and you struggle daily just to get your needs met? When are you going to find the time to get them done or organize them so somebody else can? The answer to this question varies, yet starting at least 2 months before they are due could allow you enough time to eliminate excessive stress, take into consideration your health condition, provide enough time to make sure you have the paperwork required, and decide who will complete the forms. Furthermore, if you have questions, allowing extra time helps to research the answers and select the one that best fits your need. Even when others are doing your tax returns, understanding and staying informed on current changes in tax laws aids you to be your best advocate. The greater your knowledge, the less chance you will miss any information. And upon completion, review it for accuracy, understanding, and possible missed deductions. At this time, there are a lot of articles, videos, along with additional information on how to file income tax returns. And in my opinion, one of the best places to start is the IRS official website. Become familiar with its layout and where to look for information. Print out or write down the phone number or online help links in case you need them in the future. As with most conversations today, you may be recorded, so be sure to be as accurate as possible. In past decades, few people living in poverty were required to pay income taxes. Perhaps it was due to the realization of this being a heavy burden on citizens already strapped for cash, usually robbing Peter to pay Paul, and typically not having the money to pay anything additional since survival is barely feasible. However, today, our tax structure may not be so kind. Therefore, taxes could still be due. So do not necessarily think you're out of the woods. Make sure to complete your income tax forms as soon as you can. Otherwise, the penalties may end up exceeding the tax itself. Remember that you can always hire an attorney to assist in any income tax issues that might arise. And if you make this choice, shop around and decide wisely. If possible, try and work with the IRS if the taxes due will not significantly impact your life. You can also contact the IRS to see what all your options are and look at their online website. But it's always wise to get a second opinion or research options on your own. The important thing is to realize your problems can be solved, whether abled or disabled. Remember, this helps our country provide the important services it needs. Each citizen doing their part makes life better for all of us. There are just certain things we cannot do on our own as easy, and that's what these resources provide. Lastly, there is software available which will help you figure out what your income tax amount should be. Continual use allows easier completion and aids in understanding and organizing your information yearly. Most importantly, decide how you want to do them and set up an annual routine that makes it less stressful, less costly, and more effectively uses your time. This will leave you with more energy for healing and time for rest. Our second article today will come from Kippingers.com, and the title of the article is, "Where do you rank as a taxpayer?" Quote, "Do you know how you compare with your fellow taxpayers when it comes to the income you make and the taxes you pay? We have the answers." And it's by Kevin McCormley, and it says, "There's been plenty of debate recently about the growing disparity between rich and poor in America and about income taxes, who pays how much now and who should pay more in the future, as part of the prescription to narrow the burgeoning budget gap that has pushed the national debt to political proportions." I just have to stop right there for a quick second. You know, it really bothers me when we know that it was Wall Street and the banks who caused the crash and the problems, and yet and still when they talk about solutions, they expect like the last 50% of people that make a lot less by far than the top half to come up and pay more than their fair share to get us out, and that really kind of irritates me. Okay, I'm going to go back into the article. Quote, "Undoubtedly, there are big issues here, and we think it's important for you to know where you fit in. Does your income put you in the once extolled and excorporated 1% of richest Americans, in the bottom 50%, or taxpayers, or somewhere in between? And no matter where you sit, are you bearing your fair share of the nation's tax burden? Do you have a clue what portion you pay now, aside from too darn much?" To answer the questions such as this, we have developed a tool to show how much the nation's taxable income and the country's tax bill are distributed among its citizens. Are the wealthy coddled with tax favors? Is the middle class unfairly burdened? Our tool uses the latest IRS data to shine a bright light into what are too often murky shadows. We'll also show you how your own income stacks up with that of your fellow Americans. Are you ready to see where you fit in? With our simple calculator, enter a single number from your 2011 tax return and you'll instantly know the answers. The latest numbers from the IRS based on 2010 tax returns show what it takes to be among the top 1% of income earners. A justice gross income of $369,691 or more. The 1.4 million Americans with this elite status reported 16.9% of all the country's taxable income. That's right, 1% of taxpayers reported almost 19% of all taxable income. But that same tiny group also kicked in 37% of all the taxes paid. How much do you need to make to be in the top 50% of earners? Just $34,338. Fall below that level and you are in the bottom half, along with nearly 70 million of your fellow taxpayers, right? All told, the group earned just 11.7% of the income reported on the 2009 tax returns, and they coughed up 2.36% of all the income taxes. Using our calculator to see if you're in the top 1, 5, 10, 20, or 50% or bottom 50% of income earners and I think that I have to stop here. You can go out and take a look at their calculator. I think it'd be interesting to go out there and see where you fall. Most people know about where they fall. If you think of the large percentage of people who are people working full-time and still live in poverty, that 47%. There's no rocket science to be able to figure that out. So in my personal opinion, I just think that a lot of people, certainly in the last 30 years, haven't been receiving the wages they need to be able to live an average middle-class life. But I'm going to go on back into the article here. Quote, our income and tax burden breakdowns come from information reported on 2010 individual income tax returns. Income categories are based on adjusted gross income. Note that these figures include only federal income taxes. According to one study, more than half of all wage earners pay more in Social Security and Medicare taxes than they do income tax. The percentage of those paying more payroll tax than income tax soars to nearly 90% if you count both the employer and employee share of those levels or those levies. From a historical perspective, back in 1986, the top 1% of earners reported 11% of all income and paid 26% of the income taxes. The lower earnings, 50%, made 17% of the income and paid 6% of the nation's individual income tax bill. And then on they have a chart here that's actually showing the breakdown here. And I'm just going to let's see here. As I said earlier, it said the 1% usually makes over $369,691. And that's basically 19% of all income. The top 5% is $161,579, and 34% of people fit into that. The top 10% is over $116,623, which is about 45%. The top 25% is over $69,129, which is 68%. The top 50% makes over $34,334, which is 88%. So the bottom 50%, and think about that, the bottom 50% makes under $34,338. And that's 12% of all income. And to me, that's the most tragic part of this whole thing. You have our tax system is structured right now. A lot of the 1% isn't paying any taxes. And so to me, I think it's probably a bit skewed down so it doesn't show just how much more advanced they are than that bottom 50%. And so I don't know. I hope that at some point we decide that everyone deserves a fair wage and the respect to be able to live a life and not necessarily as comfortable as the next, but at least have the basics of food, housing, and be able to pay basic necessities, survive at a level that Americans used to, because in my opinion right now, I just don't see that happening. But it's actually good to take a look and see what those numbers look like. So thank you for that article. Another article we're going to take a look at here it's from ntu.org, and it says who pays income taxes. It kind of goes along with the article we just left, so that's come I want to bring it in here. And it says who pays income taxes and how much. And that was showing us the 2010 breakdown. Here's the 2009 breakdown, and it's almost about the same. The top 1% is at $343,000. The 5% is $154,643. The top 10 is $112,000. The top 25 is $66,000, and the top 50% is $32,000. Right, so that's a couple $1,000s less for the bottom 50%, but you can see that the actual range is still problematic. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the actual top seems to be growing a lot faster than the bottom. If you look at the bottom 50%, the wages are almost stagnant. Why is that? People, we actually need unions to come back to be a force for our bargaining power. Someone, in my opinion, sold the Americans, people, a bill of goods saying they don't need to be unionized. I'm really excited to see a lot of the restaurant fast food workers are starting to say we want higher wages. We want a living wage. I think that's so very important. As far as the 1% paying more in their taxes, I would think that they've been reaping the benefits of it, and they should. I think that our tax reform should be fair. I don't see how people at the bottom 50% who are not even making enough to survive are able to pay taxes. So you're taking away something from people who don't even really have anything to give, which in my opinion is tragic, because if they were paid a living wage, they would. And in my opinion, the impact that would have on the top percent would be minimal. I'm sure that their lifestyles would continue. And for the tax year 2004, it was 328,049, and the bottom was 30,122. So you can see from 2004 to 2010, that's over 100,000. About that the top percent has increased, and that's with all the benefits of all the tax deductions and loopholes that I'm sure is missing more than that. And look at the bottom half. The bottom half is 30,122. There's no growth there. Are they saying that bottom 50% isn't valued, not important? The work isn't, the quality isn't, it is good? What are you really saying to this group of people? So I just think it's really very unfortunate. So I think you can kind of get the idea of what's the differences in income and what they pay.